Well, Donald Trump is now shifting his focus to the general election campaign and to his strategy for taking on Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton. She is expected to be a far different adversary than the candidates that he defeated in the Republican primaries. Joining us now, Gianno Caldwell, principal and founder of Caldwell Strategic Consulting and former GOP County Director of African American Outreach in Illinois. Richard Fowler is also with us, Democratic strategist and radio talk show host. Richard, to you, from the Democratic side, are you worried?
Listen, Donald Trump is a very formidable candidate. I think we'll see him throw as much mud as he can on Hillary Clinton, who seems to be our presumptive nominee. But at the end of the day, this is going to come down to turnout. That's what this election is going to be about for Democrats. Can you turn out African Americans? Can you turn out Hispanics? And can you convince Bernie Sanders voters and youth voters to join the team and vote for Hillary Clinton?
But based on turnout so far, we're staying with you, Richard, for now. Republican turnout has been a lot stronger in the primary season than Democratic turnout has been.
That is very true, but the reason why the Republican turnout has been so high during this primary season is because you've had 17 candidates, right? You've had a lot of energy, you've had a lot of excitement, you've had these cafeteria food fight debates. Whereas on the Democratic side, we've had a conversation about ideals. And now what's going to happen after we go to Philadelphia, is you're going to see Hillary Clinton begin to push out those ideals. And those ideals is what's going to push people to the polls in November.
Let me point to a poll that's just a couple of days old, Gianno. CNN ORC poll asked, if the election were held today, who would you vote for, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump? Clinton whomps him 54 to 41%. Gianno, can he turn those numbers around?
Absolutely, and there was a poll that was released last week showing that if the election was held today, that he would be leading Hillary Clinton by 2%. Listen, this is what it comes down to. Trusted leaders in the Republican Party, the conservative media movement, and the Tea Party have coalesced against Donald Trump. Millions of dollars were spent in ads, leading to about 60,000 ads against Donald Trump. And guess what? None of it worked. Hillary Clinton has a playbook for traditional Republicans, conservatives, and Tea Party, but she does not have one to defeat Donald Trump. Donald Trump is bringing up issues that are not traditional Republican issues. He said things like Planned Parenthood is a good organization. He's talking about trade. These aren't issues that Republican candidates have not talked about in a long time, leading to crossover support from Democrats and independents. So I think that he's going to have a fair chance to turn those poll numbers around, and I think he's going to bring into crossover voters, which the Republican Party has not seen in years.
Gianno, the worst numbers that I've seen for Donald Trump are among women at large. How does he turn those numbers around?
Well, I mean, I'm sure as you were reading those numbers that were bad for him, you saw the numbers that were bad for Hillary as well. She's losing when it comes to women. Women don't trust her. And I think a social media article recently suggested that women are unfollowing her on social media more than any other group. So I think it's problematic on both sides. But I think that Donald Trump, one who has said, hey, we're going to do a great job for women, and he can point to the success of this company. He has a lot of women that are in executive roles, and he can talk about some of those policies that are going to be beneficial to women in this campaign. I think that this pivot is going to come very soon, and we saw it last night when he said we're going to have a country where people love each other, and it's going to be a new wave. So his tone is becoming a whole lot more presidential, and I expect to see more of that moving forward.
Okay, all right, go ahead, Richard.
I agree with a lot of what Gianno's saying, right? I think he's right? You know, Donald Trump is a new candidate, but that's part of his problem. This is going to be a base election like we've never seen before in American history. And the fact that you have folks on Twitter last night burning their Republican card, changing their party registration, saying not only not Trump, never Trump. They will never vote for him. One Republican operative tweeted out last night, hashtag I'm with her. The party is a complete and total bedlam, and that's going to be the biggest problem for Donald Trump. He is now the head of the Republican Party, and 50% of this party does not like him, right? And so I think that's problem number one. Problem number two is his negatives are just ridiculously through the roof. I don't think you can pivot when you make such disparaging comments about women for the past 8 months. Right? Now, don't get me wrong. I think Donald Trump is a master manipulator. He's a great star. He knows how to use language to his benefit. But this will be an uphill battle for Trump in November.
But, Richard, talk about bedlam. I mean, you've got a Democratic race where your presumptive nominee just got thumped by a Democratic socialist in the state of Indiana.
Well, here's the thing. This is what Bernie Sanders has been trying to do. Bernie Sanders will eventually pull this party to the left and pull Hillary Clinton to the left. Bernie Sanders, I guarantee you, will probably not be the nominee. That's what all the numbers say, and he will get his hour speech in Philadelphia, and following that, he will be a power player in Washington. Not only will he have a $40 million war chest, but he will also be the chair of the Budget Committee, meaning he will have a lot of power in determining what a Democratic Senate Budget Committee looks like going into the new Congress. But I think Bernie Sanders' key goal here is
if the Democrats win the Senate.
The Democrats will win the Senate. There's no question
no,
about that. Every particular
Richard, what are you reading? What are you reading? Absolutely not.
We're playing the predictions game here, Gianno.
We're playing the predictions game. And as Richard's analysis, I mean, it's fairly problematic. You continue to mention the negatives that Donald Trump has, but you refuse to admit the negatives that Hillary Clinton has.
What are you talking?
Her negatives are just as...
Gianno, come on now.
Yeah.
I have been said over and over again that Hillary Clinton has some huge problems. I wrote a piece last week indicating that Hillary Clinton needs to work on young voters. She doesn't have them right now, and she's going to have to do a lot of work to get to them. So there's no question that our candidate's not perfect. She has a lot of work to do, but Donald Trump has a lot more work to do, which makes his campaign problematic.
Come on, Richard. Come on, Richard. It'd be different if Bernie Sanders was your nominee. I think you would have a foot to stand on because Bernie Sanders has high integrity numbers, and he's generally somebody that people like.
However, be the nominee so that Donald Trump will be president, but that's not a reality. Gianno, you, as a lot of many other Republicans a couple weeks ago, were talking about never Trump. Not at all. He's not going to do it. So clearly,
let Gianno have the floor now. Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you, John. Richard, what is going to happen now, and I think that this is the pivot point. We saw Reince Priebus send out a tweet saying that Donald Trump is the presumptive nominee, which he is. We're going to see John Kasich likely drop out at 5 o'clock today. That's likely. Now, what you're going to see is the Republicans that were on the never Trump train will realize, they will say, oh my gosh, would I rather have somebody like Donald Trump who has created jobs, who has put women in executive positions, who has spoken in simple English in terms of protecting our country from ISIS and any number of issues, or would I have somebody who we can't figure out what her positions is? Because as Bernie Sanders has pointed out in a recent debate, she changed her position 6 times in a minute. So we don't know what she's going to do. Let's think about what she did in March. In March, she said, we're going to put the coal miners out of business.
I'll tell you what, gentlemen,
we have larger problems.
Next time you're in New York, we're going to have to sit down and hash this all out over lunch, and then we'll have you back on again.
I'll be there next week. Let's do it.
Gianno Caldwell. Thank you both.